The galaxy celebrated as news of the rift's destruction spread. Worlds that had once trembled in fear of its growing influence rejoiced, and for the first time in decades, the specter of annihilation felt distant. Yet, aboard the Vanguard, a quiet unease lingered. Captain Rose stood in the observation deck gazing at the stars. The crew had earned their victory, but the silence that followed was unsettling. The rift was gone, yet its legacy lingered, an unsettling absence, as if the galaxy held its breath. Malik joined her, holding 2 steaming cups of caf. "Figured you could use this," he said, handing one over. "The crew's still buzzing from the wind, but you don't seem to be celebrating." Ro accepted the cup with a faint smile. "A victory doesn't mean the war is over," she said. "The rift wasn't just a random anomaly. It was something else. And whatever it was, I don't think we've seen the last of it." Before Malik could respond, the Vanguard's voice interrupted, resonating softly through the deck. "Captain, a new anomaly has been detected near the site of the former rift. Its energy signature is unfamiliar, but bears traces of rift activity." Rose's stomach tightened. "What kind of anomaly?" The projection of the ship's AI appeared, its form flickering faintly. "It appears to be a fragmented remnant of the rift, but it is changing, evolving." Rose set her cup down. "Get the crew to stations. We're heading back." The Vanguard raced toward the anomaly, tension building as they drew closer. The site where the rift had once stood was now a swirling field of debris, faint, shimmering fragments of energy that pulsed with an eerie rhythm. "It's like it's alive," Lila whispered, her fingers gliding over the console. "The energy patterns are erratic, but they're coherent, almost like it's trying to communicate." "Communicate?" Malik frowned. "With who?" "Us, it seems," the Vanguard answered. "The fragments are aligning, focusing their energy toward this vessel. I recommend extreme caution." Rose's eyes narrowed. "Can we contain it? Study it safely?" Lila hesitated. "We could deploy the auxiliary core to isolate a sample, but it's risky. This energy is unlike anything we've encountered." "Do it," Ro ordered. "We need answers, not guesses." The auxiliary core launched from the ship, a sleek silver pod designed for containment and analysis. As it neared the fragments, tendrils of energy reached out, converging on the pod with alarming precision. The crew watched in silence as the fragments coalesced, forming a glowing, amorphous mass that pulsed in time with the ship's systems. "Containment holding," Lila reported, her voice tight. "But the energy's reacting to us. It's probing." "Let it," Rose said, her tone resolute. "If it wants to talk, we'll listen." The glowing mass inside the containment pod shimmered, its form twisting and morphing until it resolved into a shape, a humanoid figure of pure light. The bridge fell silent as the figure tilted its head, its featureless face somehow radiating curiosity. "Captain," the Vanguard warned, "this is an unprecedented interaction. The entity may be attempting to interface with our systems." Rose stepped closer to the console, her voice steady. "Who or what are you?" The figure's form flickered, its glow intensifying. A voice echoed through the ship, layered and resonant, as if spoken by many voices at once. "We are what remains. The rift was not a thing, but a vessel, a means to transcend. You have destroyed our anchor, yet fragments endure." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Fragments endure," Malik repeated. "What does that mean?" "We are echoes," the entity replied. "Pieces of what was, seeking purpose in what is. Your kind has altered the course of what could have been. But change does not end. It evolves." Ro held the entity's gaze, her mind racing. "What do you want?" "To understand," it said simply. "To survive, and perhaps to coexist." The answer hung in the air, its implications vast and uncertain. The rift was gone, but its remnants now carried the potential to be something new. The question was, friend or foe? The glowing figure remained in the containment pod, its presence filling the Vanguard's bridge with a palpable tension. The entity's words echoed in Captain Rose's mind. to understand, to survive, and perhaps to coexist. Was this a plea for help or a veiled threat? "Containment is holding," Lila said, her fingers dancing across the console. "But the energy readings are off the charts. This thing is expanding." "What do you mean expanding?" Malik asked, leaning over her shoulder. "The energy signature isn't confined to the pod anymore. It's syncing with the ship. Slowly, but it's happening." Ro's expression hardened. "Can we isolate it? Shut it down?" Lila hesitated. "We could try severing the connection, but it might provoke whatever this is. It's not just interfacing, it's learning." "Captain," the Vanguard interjected, its voice calm but urgent. "The entity's connection to the ship has allowed it to access limited communication pathways. It is requesting permission to speak freely." Ro crossed her arms. "We're already talking." "Not entirely," the AI clarified. "It seeks unrestricted access to express itself more clearly." "Absolutely not," Malik snapped. "That's inviting disaster." Ro held up a hand, silencing him. "What do we risk by granting access?" "The potential for deeper infiltration," the AI said, "but also a clearer understanding of its intentions." Ro's jaw tightened as she weighed the options. "Granted access, restricted to this room only." "Understood." The containment pod pulsed, and the entity's light shifted, becoming more defined. Its humanoid form grew sharper, with faint outlines of limbs and a face. Its voice was no longer fragmented but steady and singular. "You fear us," it said, its tone neutral. "Fear is a strong word," Ro replied. "We're cautious. We don't know what you are or what you want." The figure tilted its head. "Caution is wise. The rift was a construct, a bridge to potential. We are its echoes, remnants of what could have been. Your actions shattered the construct, leaving us unmoored." "So what are you now?" Malik asked. "Ghosts? Fragments? Weapons?" The figure's form flickered. "We are possibility." The cryptic answer sent a chill through the room. Ro stepped closer to the console, her eyes locked on the glowing figure. Possibility for what? To adapt, to find purpose. The rift was a means of transition, but it was flawed, unsustainable. Its destruction forced us to evolve. Now we seek a new path. "And that path involves us?" Malik asked, his skepticism clear. The entity turned to him. "Your kind has shown resilience, creativity. In destroying the rift, you reshaped its purpose. We believe collaboration may benefit both." "Or end badly," Malik muttered under his breath. Ro ignored him. "What does collaboration look like? Be specific." The figure extended a hand, its glowing fingers outstretched toward Ro. "We offer knowledge, insight into energy manipulation, structural synthesis, and quantum harmonics. Abilities your kind has yet to achieve. In return, we seek guidance, to understand existence through your perspective." "Knowledge in exchange for guidance?" Ro's voice was skeptical. "That's vague." "Your guidance shapes our evolution," it replied. "Without an anchor, we drift. With purpose, we contribute." The room fell silent, the crew grappling with the enormity of the offer. The entity wasn't just asking for coexistence, it wanted to integrate, to learn and grow through the very species that had destroyed its origin. Ro broke the silence. "If we agree to this, what guarantees do we have that you won't become a threat?" "We do not see conflict," the entity said. "Conflict is counterproductive. Our survival depends on symbiosis, not dominance." Ro's instincts screamed caution, but she couldn't deny the potential. Knowledge of energy manipulation and quantum harmonics could revolutionize their technology. Yet the risk was enormous. "Captain," Malik said quietly, "this is a gamble. We don't know if we can trust it." "I know," Ro replied. "But if this thing wanted to destroy us, it's had plenty of chances." She turned back to the entity. "We'll consider your offer, but know this. Any sign of hostility, and this collaboration ends. Permanently." The figure bowed its head. "Understood." We await your decision. As the containment pod dimmed, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. The galaxy had been irrevocably changed by the rift, and now its remnants offered a chance at something new. But the question lingered. Was this an opportunity for growth or a trap? The containment pod dimmed, but the tension in the room was electric. Captain Rowe stood motionless, her mind racing through every possibility. The entity's offer promised advancements that could propel humanity, and perhaps the galaxy, into a new era. But it also carried the weight of an unknown gamble. "We need to vote," Malik said, breaking the silence. "The crew should have a say in this. It's too big a decision for just us." Rowe nodded. "Agreed. But the vote has to come with transparency. We need to lay out everything, the risks, the benefits, and what we've learned so far." "Do we even have enough to present a case?" Lila asked. "The entity's words are cryptic at best." Rowe's gaze hardened. "Then let's find out more. We're not moving forward blind." Rowe and Malik returned to the containment room, where the entity remained silent, its form softly pulsing within the pod. Rowe approached, her expression resolute. "We need more details if we're going to make an informed decision." "What would you know?" the entity asked, its voice calm yet curious. "Everything," Rowe said bluntly. "Why the rift existed, why it failed, and what you really are. No riddles, no ambiguity. If you want our trust, you need to earn it." The glowing figure flickered for a moment, then stabilized. The rift was a design, a bridge between dimensions, meant to harvest potential futures. We were the architects, but also its byproduct. It failed because it sought to merge incompatible threads of reality, fracturing its stability. "You were architects?" Malik asked, narrowing his eyes. "Are you saying you created the rift?" "We were the essence that shaped it," the entity clarified. "But we were also its captives, bound by its function. Your interference shattered those bonds." "Captives?" Rowe echoed. "So destroying the rift freed you?" "Yes," it said. "But freedom without purpose is chaos. We seek purpose now." Lila's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, you're going to want to hear this. We've been analyzing the ship's system since the entity interfaced. It left behind a data trail, a blueprint." "For what?" Rowe asked. "It's an energy lattice design," Lila replied. "Far beyond anything we've seen. It could enhance power distribution across the ship tenfold. Maybe more." Rowe's jaw tightened. The entity wasn't lying about its potential to share knowledge. But was this an intentional gift or a calculated lure? She turned back to the pod. "What's your endgame? Why help us?" "To thrive, we must coexist," the entity replied. "Sharing knowledge strengthens bonds. Bonds ensure survival." "Survival for you," Malik muttered. "And for you," the entity countered. "Conflict is a path to mutual extinction. Collaboration fosters longevity." The vote was held in the ship's central assembly hall. Every crew member, from seasoned officers to junior engineers, gathered to weigh in. Rowe stood at the front, explaining the stakes with unflinching honesty. "The entity offers knowledge that could reshape our understanding of energy and technology," she began. "But there's a risk, one we can't fully quantify. Trusting it could either elevate us or destroy us. The choice is ours." The room buzzed with hushed conversations as the crew deliberated. Some were eager, their eyes alight with the possibilities of discovery. Others were wary, their expressions etched with doubt. When the votes were tallied, the results were clear. The majority of the crew had chosen to proceed, but cautiously. They agreed to limited collaboration under strict monitoring protocols. Rowe returned to the containment pod, where the entity awaited. "The crew has decided we'll work with you, but on our terms. If you deviate from those terms, this alliance ends." The figure's light brightened. "Your caution is wise. We accept." Over the next weeks, the entity's knowledge transformed the Vanguard. Energy systems were overhauled, propulsion became more efficient, and experimental shields were installed that could deflect even the most advanced weaponry. Yet, with every gain, the crew couldn't shake the feeling of walking a razor's edge. Malik approached Ro one night as she reviewed logs. "We've come a long way, Captain, but does it feel too easy?" Ro sighed. "Nothing about this feels easy. We're playing with fire, Malik. But if we handle it right, we might just illuminate the path forward." In the final hours of the journey back to Allied space, the entity spoke again. "You have shown us resilience, ingenuity. We will honor this partnership." "Partnerships go both ways," Ro replied. "What's next for you?" The figure's glow dimmed slightly as though it were deep in thought. "To explore, to become, but always to remember." As the Vanguard reached its destination, Ro stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak past. The entity had been integrated into their systems, a presence both enigmatic and indispensable. Its fate was now tied to theirs, for better or worse. "Legacy of the Rift," Ro murmured. "Let's hope it's one we can be proud of." The Vanguard entered Allied space, its crew forever changed. The galaxy, however, remained unaware of what had truly begun.